For girls, it's Olivia. Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 31 points. This is CBS News.
Find your next great hire with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
If you love to spend time in the kitchen, elevate your cooking game with a pantry full of premium hemp products from Mary Jane's Hemp Shop in Waukesha. Mary Jane sells flights of Himalayan sea salts, raw sugar flights, local raw honey, and just in time for summer, a variety of salt rubs for meat and grilling. Not sure how to use the products in your own kitchen? Check out Mary Jane's YouTube channel for ideas and recipes. Elevate your cooking game at Mary Jane's Hemp Shop, 335 West Main Street, Waukesha, or online at maryjanespantry.shop.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo Switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love party packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Zocalo Food Truck Park is so much fun. They have such variety in one place. You name it. Ice cream, bagels, sushi, tacos, pizza, to tasty sandwiches, and a fun full bar to boot with some craft cocktails and beers. You can even host a private party or reserve a heated hut. Support local food entrepreneurs with family and friends and Taste Milwaukee. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Find us at ZocaloMKE.com. That's ZocaloMKE.com.
Enter a world of wizards, hobbits, and gnomes at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum. Explore an enchanted land with locally made, handcrafted gifts themed from nerdy to nature, and experience an interactive hobbit home. Visit the Gift Nook for a truly mystical shopping experience. 222 Main Street in Kewaskum, or call 414-839-0066. That's 414-839-0066, or find them on Facebook and Instagram.
Love the outdoors but lack the gear to explore it? River West Outdoor Pro Shop has everything you need. Rock climbing, snowshoeing, kayaking, and more. Don't know what you need? Come visit the shop located in the basement of Milwaukee Turners at 1034 North Villar Phillips Avenue. Their friendly staff will help you find what you need. For questions and hours, call 414-272-1733, extension 16. 414-272-1733, extension 16. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
He's the grave digger, Gilbert Brown.
Where can you go where
It's great to be here to speak directly to the woke mob.
The liberals have basically made up this whole agenda that guacamole is made of avocados. It's not the truth.
Ticked off, tee off. This is it.
Scoobity boo boo. Scoobity doo.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Do you like your job? 844-967-2789. Or if you were retired, what was the most satisfying job you ever had in your career? And I guess it's not even, do you like your job? Are you satisfied with your job? Are those two different things, Jane Madner?
Yeah, they can be.
Being satisfied versus liking it?
Yeah, you can be satisfied with what you're getting paid and you can be satisfied with what you're doing, I guess. But being happy is an extra good element.
844-96-PARTY. Are you satisfied in your job? Or if you're not working anymore, what job were you the most satisfied in? And I ask this because, surprise, people like their jobs.
What? I thought we were all miserable, lazy, do-nothings, and we hate
And
everything.
nobody
and
wants to work
And
anymore.
we're quiet quitting all over the place.
The Conference Board released new data showing that 62.3% of U.S. workers are satisfied with their job, the highest share since the Business Research Organization started the survey in 1987.
Wow.
So that's saying something.
Yes, it certainly is. My goodness.
And so I was curious as I saw that in this morning's headlines of the people who listen to As Goes Wisconsin, who are listening now. The thing is, always the tricky thing about asking these questions, especially about working, because some people may be listening to this show as a podcast because they are actually working right now.
There is that, yes.
From 11 to 2.
Right.
A lot of people who have jobs, unless, so if you can text, if you're listening to us while you're working, obviously you can text us if you don't want to pick up the phone. But I just thought it was interesting as far as, people who are working, or when you think back at your career, what, not only were you satisfied, but what about your work made it a satisfying job?
Was it your colleagues? Was it management? Was it what you felt you accomplished or were accomplishing?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a greater good umbrella somehow? 844-967-2789, 844-96 party. Do you like your job?
Because so what's behind, at least what they're saying from this new data from this year, or that was released this week, is it's not the perks. I mean, not that every job has perks, but as far as, I worked at a job that had, the kombucha on tap and yoga wellness retreats.
Oh God, that just makes me roll my eyes.
But it's more, at least for now, the resurgence of employee happiness is mainly attributed to hybrid work arrangements, job flexibility, and the tight labor market that has allowed people to leave the jobs they hate for jobs they like, or at least jobs that they hate less.
Step in the right direction.
And so, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think that there is something I would say and not that I don't think I would ever say that I worked for a drill sergeant, let's say, as far as I think the consistent of my life has always been no one puts more pressure on me than me.
I think you're spot on with that.
And even when I was working in tech, I didn't necessarily have bosses who were like breathing down my neck for stuff, but I put an immense amount of pressure on myself. But also, when you work in an office, you manage a team, the expectation that you're in the office, and this would have been 2011 to 2017. I had a job where it was expected that you went to the office every day. And when I left tech in 2017 and I started doing consulting and freelance work and trying to figure out what my next step was going to be, what was nice is like, I can just get this done whenever I need to get it done. So I could work at 7:00 at night.
Right.
And if I wanted to take a lunch meeting in the middle of the day, I didn't feel like I was sneaking out of the office, or like doctor's appointments or stuff like that, when you're like, you have this weird sense of guilt that if you're not visibly seen in the office, you're doing something wrong.
You're playing hooky.
And so it is interesting to think that to a certain extent, for job satisfaction and the jobs that allow it, that maybe not totally remote work, but at least continuing to have some kind of flexibility and hybrid, and employers trusting their employees will continue to be a high value for workers, and why they would stay at jobs longer, knowing that they value that as much as maybe they value a higher paycheck.
844-967-2789, 844-96-party. Texter from the 715. I work at a nursing home in maintenance. I like my job, but there are lots of gaps in help, and that really starts to wear on others. And that's kind of a problem across the board.
Yeah. And what's so hard with the nursing homes, childcare, teachers, other nurses, the slippery slope of what's hard about our job is we don't have enough help because there's a shortage. And so then potentially you get people who are working burned out, and then they leave, and then that exacerbates the problem.
Right.
And so Yeah, that is, and that's not a job you can do hybrid.
No.
No, when you're doing nursing home maintenance, I'm pretty sure you got to be there.
Yeah, I not remote. We're not quite that good with AI just yet.
There's no cloud. There's no cloud technology that
No, it's going to do that for you.
But we were asking, do you like your job? Are you satisfied in your job? Or if you are retired, what job was the most satisfying for you? And I think this is probably different for each person as far as what you probably aligns with what your value system is and where you are in your life. I'm sure someone who is single and maybe not married yet, or certainly childless, has a different set of criteria that they look for in a job than once you have kids. And so I think it's just an interesting question. And I think it's interesting that the data that came back from this survey is that so far, right now, people are pretty satisfied.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Lester from Milwaukee joining us. Hey, Lester, thanks for calling. What do you want to say about what you like about your job?
Well, I work in the service industry, and actually, Kristen,
I know Lester.
we've met before.
We went to high school together. Hi, Lester.
Full disclosure.
Hi. So, do you like your job?
But yeah, well, also I like working in the service industry, right? And everybody's always giving me crap about getting a real job, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I have never gotten a real job is because I like my job, right? I've always liked my job. I've always liked meeting new people. I've always liked the day is never the same, right? So that's, I think, I mean, although people are leaving the service industry in droves or have been because of other, kind of crappier parts about service industry.
Yeah.
I've always liked service industry. And I think that's the one thing that people do love about the service industry, right? Is that there's some flexibility. And there's also just, the day is always different. It's not the normal grind that I see when I think of, office work.
Staring at a computer all day?
Right.
Would you, how mind numbing does staring at a computer all day sound to you after years of working in the service industry?
I could. So I got my degree in marine biology, right? And right before my senior year, during my senior year, I was doing my research, and 90% of research biology is sitting in a lab crunching data. With a lab with
it's not
windows
petting
or a lab.
walruses.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just became this. I just realized this is definitely not for me. I can't do this. I can't not speak to people for 6 or 7 hours a day. I went and visited a guy that works at the Smithsonian, and his office is in the basement of the Smithsonian Institute with no windows.
Wow.
Doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, for some people, Lester, that's fine, and they're not necessarily
100%.
as social as you, but you're obviously in the right line of work because you like people.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to give a shout out for where you work so people can come check out your establishment?
Yeah, so I run the Venture Brewing Company in kind of West Milwaukee on 55th and North Avenue. We brew our own beer and roast our own coffee.
There you go.
Nice.
2 types of brew.
Nicely done, Lester.
Thanks for the call,
That's
Lester. Right. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're asking, are you satisfied with your job? And if so, why? Because I think it's different for a lot of people. Like for Lester, obviously being able to be social and talk to people, and the days are different and you have flexibility. And I think, for some people with the service industry, they're on an opposite schedule from everyone in the office, right? It's the days you're making the most money are nights, weekends, holidays.
Yep.
And so for some people that's great. Some people that's not great. And so we'd love to hear from you on whether you like your job. And if you're not working anymore, what job were you the most satisfied with? We have a message from our friend Joe McClear. My job is okay. I work for myself. My boss is cool, but my employee can be a brat.
I can see that, Joe. I can see the challenge there. You have to manage those things. It's tricky.
And that is something to be said as far as some people I think of working for yourself as the dream.
Not necessarily.
And I will say I don't know if I mean, everything I've done with As Goes Wisconsin as its own company was basically freelance, right? So I didn't have employees, but um I was just having this conversation with my friend, and then we'll go to break, who's a radiation nurse, and she just had her baby. And she worked like 12-hour shifts while she was
Wow.
pregnant. And not always, but sometimes. And I was over at her house playing with her baby. And I had to like check myself during the first trimester when I was so tired. Cause I was like, I don't have a labor intensive job, like a physically laborious job.
Where you have to stand.
I sit
and- right.
here, and I was like, intellectually, I think it's a lot of work. And she said to me, she was like, she's like, when I come home, I come home. My job does
It's
not come
done.
home with me.
Yeah.
And I would say, certainly for myself, and I think for any entrepreneur, anyone who's working themselves, it's hard to ever turn it off because you're always thinking about the business and how to grow or what's next. And so for some people, that's great. And some people are like, I just want my 9 to 5 and then I want my weekends, slam that computer and not come back till Monday. So we would love to hear from you. Are you satisfied with your job? 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. We'll be right back.
Hey, all you vintage vixens, rockabilly rebels, and cool cats. Find the retro-inspired fashion you're looking for in South Milwaukee at Hollyville. This one-woman small business is known for creating many one-of-a-kind looks reminiscent of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and sourcing out to other retro clothing brands from around the world. It's where vintage meets modern. Hollyville, 916 Milwaukee Avenue, South Milwaukee. 414-220-0055. That's 414-220-0055, or log on to hollyville.com.
The four most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Pat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBack.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative, at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 70, winds out of the east 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers again tonight, lows dip down to about 55, overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 68, cloudy skies. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Waukesha, home of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
When I'm in the car, I'm always listening.
Of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
When I'm in the car, I'm always listening.
Of Les Paul. Waukesha's famous farmers market. And The Shaw. WAUK.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair. 2 women who are very satisfied with their jobs, right?
Yes, very much so.
I
Wasn't
think
always. I haven't always.
you
been.
haven't always been.
Nope.
I have those checks in days where I'm either frustrated or, the slog of like, oh, we have to like think of another 3 hours of content. And all I want to do is this other thing this morning. Because my ADHD brain sometimes is like, no, I don't want to work on that today.
Zing, let's
But
go
for
read it.
the like overwhelmingly we have pretty cool jobs.
Yes, we definitely do.
We have pretty cool
Yes,
jobs.
we do.
And so certainly we are satisfied with our jobs, but we are asking you if you are satisfied with your job, or what about your job or any job is satisfying? What does the criteria of that look like for you? And we're asking this because there is a new set of data out from the conference board saying that 62.3% of US workers are satisfied with their job, which is the highest share since they started asking that question in 1987.
That's
so
pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
It is 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Texter from the 414, as a skilled trade working in the maintenance department, I never knew what I would be working on from day to day. A great career I enjoyed every day. I knew many people that hated coming to work, but I had a good time and I looked forward to working, but I also enjoyed my time away from work too. We got to have a little balance.
Absolutely.
Got to have a little balance. From the 262, I'm self-employed, work by myself. In some ways, it's great. In some ways, it's really, really hard.
Mhm.
But as someone who builds furniture, doesn't that sound great?
Send us a link to your furniture so we can oogle and ogle at it.
As someone who builds furniture and home decor items, it's really satisfying to finish pieces, big or small. Handcrafting things is extremely satisfying. I don't doubt that at all.
I can imagine, the sense of accomplishment once it's done, and then
Right?
it's sold, and the people who buy it love it, and it finds a home. And
You made it with your own two hands and your sweat and love, and I think that just gives me chills.
I always I'm sure it'd be so interesting to see a cross comparison of people who work with their hands, people who work in service of others and have, either clients, patients, customers, but some people really love research and they don't actually want to deal with anyone.
Well, and it's a good thing there are a spot for those people who don't mind working in basements with no windows.
But it would be interesting because I think I have read that before, that despite labor shortages and how burnt out nurses, teachers, some of those folks who works in direct service with others are right now, the actual work is much more rewarding than like a marketing manager at some tech company.
Which is what
like,
you did.
Art.
Did you not?
Basically,
yes.
It was like I sat in between the marketing department who created leads and the sales team that closed deals. My team was following up on leads and also like cold calling, trying to root out deals at ideal customers with the right person at those companies. So it was a lot of cold calling, cold emailing.
I would have sucked that job.
And so I think for people who work in those jobs, a lot of those corporate type jobs, you have to build the culture of your teammates and the kombucha and stuff like that, because you're like, what are we actually doing? What is our actual mission? And then that company in particular, it was, we're trying to help you optimize your website so that you can basically sell more stuff to people.
Well, now that's understandable, though.
That to be passionate about that?
Not to be passionate, but at least when you phrase it like that, I understand what you were doing.
Oh, yeah. It was a tool that said on your website that basically you, instead of being like a coder that could like actually have to like know how to like do HTML or anything like that, you could like drop and drag and make changes to your website and then test the traffic to be like, did more people click this button or did they click this button when we phrased it differently and stuff like that.
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY, text and or call. From the 608, we're taking your calls and texts on whether or not you like your job. There's two of us listening to you on Richland Center Radio. Yay, we are UPS drivers who love our jobs, especially from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you, Jane and Kristen. Thank you, 608.
Thank you.
That means more than you realize. It really does.
I would love to know that. I feel like those are if two UPS drivers who love their job. I feel like these are the types of people who on the Ring cameras will end up going viral. They'll like, how those happen every once in a while now, because they'll do something nice or they'll leave a nice message or they'll do like a dance or something in front of a Ring camera and then they post it on TikTok and then all of a sudden it's got like 3 million views.
Go for that, Richland Center. Go do
But
some dancing this afternoon.
Don't do some dancing in front of doorknobs. Doorbells.
Doorbells.
So, well, this is fun. I want to keep hearing if you like your job. What about your job that you like? Because this is a fun topic for a Friday. I do want to at least acknowledge when we come back some of the stuff that's happening at the border. But let's keep this rolling. So I'd love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. Do you like your job? And what about it is satisfying? This is As Goes Wisconsin.
No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me. So happy together, so happy together. And how is the weather? So happy together. We're happy together. So happy
From 5 Points and beyond, from Southeast Wisconsin and to the world, this is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM, WAUK.
CBS News brief. A former Marine has surrendered to face manslaughter charges in the Jordan Neely's New York subway chokehold case. An attorney for Neely's family says,
"No one on that train asked Jordan, what's wrong? How can I help you? He was choked to death. Instead,
Thomas Kenneth is Daniel Penny's attorney.
The case will now go to court. We expect an arraignment will occur this afternoon, and the process will unfold from there.
New challenges at the southern border after the expiration of the Title 42 expulsion policy. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We provide lawful, safe, and orderly pathways for people to come to the United States when they qualify for relief. We have a security and a humanitarian obligation to cut the smugglers out.
Damage scattered around Oklahoma after a spate of tornadoes.
You can see everyone out in the street wanting to help and make sure that everybody is okay and asking if they can do anything for anyone.
CBS News Brief, I'm Steve Kathan.
The Civic Media Network of radio stations across Wisconsin. We are your hometown radio, refreshed.
I got one job, two job, three when I need them. I got 5 roommates in this one studio, but I never really see them. And we all came America trying to get a lap dance from Lady Freedom. But now Lady Liberty is acting like Hillary Banks with a prenup. Man, I was brave, sailing on graves. Don't think I didn't notice those tombstones.
Do you like your job? Are you satisfied? Are you not satisfied? What would make you more satisfied in your job? 844-967-2789. And we're asking, I think we're getting more texts because we're getting people who are at their jobs right now.
Yes, they are actually working.
But right now, apparently in the US, and granted, the survey that is providing this data was conducted before all the tech layoffs started to happen. So maybe it's a little different now. And if the labor market is not as tight, it could change things as far as people's options to get different jobs. But as of right now, there has been, and this is the highest approval rate, I guess it's approval rating, satisfactory rating that has been recorded from the conference board since 1987 when they started asking this question, and they basically found it's because of hybrid work, job flexibility, and being able to, like, a competitive market where they can go find jobs that they like more than feeling stuck in the one that they have. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to hear from people on whether or not they fall into that 62% or not, or if they're in the 48 that is like, or the 38, sorry, I can do math. That's like, F this.
Well, and I just, on the flip side, this just tells me how many people were miserable for a long time in their old jobs
Yeah.
because they felt they had no options. And I know employers are in a tough situation, like you said, trying to find workers and to keep the staffing levels up. But this is the first time, at least in my estimation, that American workers have really had a choice.
In your memory?
In my memory, as far as maybe in the 80s, but things really started tightening up after 88 and 89 and into the 90s and 2000s, and there were just a lot of people, I think, who felt stuck. They were stuck.
And it's interesting because I don't know if things are gonna like, yes, like as we said, like there could be, I don't know, this looming recession that keeps maybe coming, maybe not coming. So that could change what the labor market is in general. But I also we talk about it in Wisconsin, like the labor participation rate and how many people are working.
Right.
And we said last week that when it comes to prime working age people, so what is that, 25 to 55?
54, 55.
Wisconsin is one of the strongest states with the highest labor participation rate in the country. So the people who are of that age range in Wisconsin, a lot of them are working. The highest percentage of them are working basically compared to other states. And we said, part of the issue is that we are aging faster than the rest of the country, but the rest of the country is also aging pretty fast.
Right.
And
the boomers are a huge chunk of the population.
And this was from Axios, I think this week, of why labor shortages could be here to stay. And it's because Americans are getting older. And so even if the job market cools off from like how hot it is right now, it can mean that shortages are here and they're part of the equation. And so, having options and needing to be like as the employer of having a place where people want to work will continue to make you competitive to have people actually continue to want to work for your place. But it's also just interesting as far as if we will ever go back to kind of that feeling of, for a lot of people, feeling like they're trapped in their job.
And I think, and I do think that there are some people who are still stuck, and that's largely because of healthcare.
Yeah.
Because if you have a job if you have an employer that provides healthcare and you would like to do something else, but you don't have the healthcare option, that's going to keep you where you were.
Yeah.
Because it's just so, the potential of going bankrupt when someone in your family gets sick is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that can happen even when you have health insurance. Which is not very reassuring. But
it's not very reassuring, that insurance that you pay into. You're like, wait, what? How much why do I pay a premium if I'm still 15,000 in the hole for this thing?
Because those insurance companies, they need big fountains on their properties.
That is true. Well, if you still would like to tell us why you love your job, if you're happy with your job at all, what would make you happier, we will continue to take your calls and texts 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Happy Friday. This is not as happy of a topic, but it's one of those things that it's been in the headlines all week. And it feels like we need to at least acknowledge it, even though it is so complicated and not something that we're going to solve in the next 8 minutes.
No.
But I wanted to at least acknowledge what's happening at the border and what a mess it is, seemingly, because Title 42, which was the Trump era policy that allowed the U.S. to expel migrants at the southern border without processing asylum claims, ended last night. And since March 2020, the U.S. used that rule to 2,700,000 times.
Wow.
To turn away migrants on the grounds that they were doing so to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And so with that ending, and it had to end because all of the COVID policies are ending because COVID is, as far as the emergency,
It's over.
is over. And so now the U.S. returns to a policy that gives migrants the chance to have their asylum cases heard. However, those who cross improperly are going to face more severe penalties, like a 5-year ban on reentry. But we're already seeing it's going to be a spike in border crossings, and we are not, as a country, we are not really prepared for it at all. 60,000 people were waiting near the border to enter the U.S. on Wednesday. Border officials have apprehended a record 11,000 people trying to enter the U.S. on Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's, and I think the thing is, when we were hearing these numbers, that the point that I want to make is like, all of these are people. Like, it's a mess, and you can blame Biden, you can blame Trump, you can certainly blame Congress, who continues to do nothing.
We can go back decades and blame people for this.
And, but ultimately, numbers are different than individual stories of what the people who are trying to get to this country have gone through to even get this far. And I just wanted to, one story. Just share one story that I read this morning of 2 parents and their 2 children and what they went through to get to the border. And I'm not saying this is, we should feel bad for them, so we need to loosen, we need to have no borders. Like, this is a issue where I don't think I know where I stand yet, because in certain ways, it's not as simple as saying, well, like, look at these labor shortages. Like, it would do our country well if we could figure out the processing system and have more judges and have more lawyers and like expedite how like the backlog of over 1 million people who need to have their cases heard, and like have a system to set people up, because we're not having any more babies at the pace that we see we need to be, as far as like the value that immigrants provide to our country. And at the same time, I know it can't just be a free-for-all where you don't actually understand who's coming into the country.
You have to have a vetting
And you have to have a vetting process. And so like, I understand this is more complicated, and I'm not saying that I have I know enough about this topic to like fight tooth and nail on my opinion. But what I will say, and what I do think about, is how most of us probably listening to this show right now will never go through the terror of what a lot of like these thousands of people have gone through to try to even have a chance
just to get
here.
The border.
Like, I think about, our first topic of like, do we like our jobs? And like, unless you're working in some like high risk, very dangerous work, being disgruntled about work stuff is very, it's just like kind of putting things in perspective. And so, I'm just going to share the story, and I'm probably will end it there, as far as just like a reminder that all of these people who are being summed up as 10,000 people, 60,000 people,
all lumped together,
2.7 million people who were turned away, 1 million people on a backlog of the like people seeking asylum who are in the country right now. Like, these are really, really big numbers that are really hard to then wrap your head around, that each of them are an individual story and each of them are a person. And so, Juan and Jeslyn, 26 and 22, and their 2 children, ages 5 and 3, left Venezuela 4 months ago. They were determined to seek a better life in the U.S. and undeterred by immigration challenges they knew they'd face. For days, the young family trekked through the dangerous jungles of the Darien Gap, the isthmus bridging South and Central America, Juan told Axios, with help from an interpreter. That's where they were robbed. Juan and Jeslyn dug through their bags to show Axios their identification documents taped together after the attackers had torn them apart. 3 women in their migrant group of the 60 were raped, they said. The family survived and eventually made it to the Texas border, then spent 3 weeks in Ciudad Juarez trying to schedule an appointment with border officials through an app the Biden administration has touted as an orderly legal way to schedule meetings with migration officials. They finally chose to cross into the U.S. and risk turning themselves into Border Patrol. They were lucky enough to avoid being expelled to Mexico, as hundreds of Venezuelans had been in March, according to government data. Juan and Jeslyn were processed by the Border Patrol and can now settle in the U.S. until their next steps in the immigration process. They have no relatives in the U.S., they have no money, and they originally planned to go to Orlando, but then they heard about the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' new laws targeting undocumented immigrants. So now they're trying to find a way to get to Boston.
Wow.
They did all of that with a 3 and a 5-year-old.
Wow.
And that is that's a story of a family who made it. And it's just the reminder that as you maybe have very strong opinions on what we should or should not be doing, just remembering that they're people.
And again, blame for this situation, we can spread across both sides going back decades. Because Congress, it's one of those icky hot potato things. I don't want to deal with it because it will make me unpopular with some of my constituents. The whole DACA thing, the Dreamers program. These people who were brought here as children, and in many cases very young children, are now in their 30s and 40s.
Oh yeah, but it's what's frustrating to me is in at least the last 2 administrations, Trump's policies, the family separation, but also with Biden right now, like there's no clear mandate. Like he's kind of like wishy-washy on where he stands on this, where he's taking some kind of like hardline Trump stuff, but kind of like running on progressive, like, it's just there's no mandate and there's no objective that like brings order to what it's supposed to look like at all. But ultimately, we keep pushing this to looking at the president. It's the president's fault. It's the president's fault. It's the president's fault wherever we are. But there's no president who can fix this with executive actions and administrative rules. Like without Congress actually passing a comprehensive immigration bill, which, they've seemed to be talking about for decades.
Yeah, and nothing gets done.
We're just going to keep ending back up here with ebbs and flows and dysfunction at the border. And it hurts American citizens and it hurts migrants who want to be here and like actually contribute to society. And it just creates more and more animosity through like everyone. And what sucks is that like, do any of us have any expectation or hope that Congress would actually get this done?
No. And how depressing is that?
It's just, especially with, another presidential, with elections every 2 years between midterms and the presidential election, it's just like nobody wants to touch it and they just want to blame it on whoever's in office.
Well, and that could lead one to believe that we don't want to solve this because then we can't point fingers at the other side and blame them for it.
Instead, and we can't raise money off of it.
And we can't raise money off of it either and scare people and try and terrify people. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed and both sides need to do this.
So I bring it up only because it's obviously...
Well, it's happening.
It's happening. Now. It's really important news. It is so meaty, and it is not something. It is not a. I think there is not a hill that I die on beyond trying to continue to remember our humanity, and the choice that any of these people make. Because if you think about how much try to think about how much we love Wisconsin, and you get people who are like, I would never leave Wisconsin. It's even with all of its flaws, like this is my home.
Right.
And same thing with people who are from the United States who are like, if they're critical of the United States, but like, this is my home. I would never leave because this is my culture. This is the country that I love.
Everything I know.
Most people feel that way. Most people love the country that they're from, even if they end up leaving. Like I think about Sepide, who came in and from Iran.
Iran, yeah.
And she loves her country. She does not love the regime, but she loves her country, and she's incredibly sad that she cannot go back because it's not safe. And so just continuing to remember the people who choose to do this, it's not to come take advantage of it's because they're left with no other option of how dangerous and unsafe it is where they're at, that they're willing to risk death and rape and their children's lives to try to get here. All right, when we come back, we'll have some fun with the headline quiz. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Identidad falsa, brincamos muros o flotamos en balsa, la peleamos como Sandino en Nicaragua, somos como las plantas que crecen sin agua, sin pasaporte americano, porque la mitad de estamos en balsa, la peleamos como Sandino en Nicaragua, somos como las plantas que crecen sin agua, sin pasaporte americano, porque muros o flotamos en balsa.
Enter a world of wizards, hobbits, and gnomes at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum. Explore an enchanted land with locally made handcrafted gifts themed from nerdy to nature and experience an interactive hobbit home. Visit the Gift Nook for a truly mystical shopping experience. 222 Main Street in Kewaskum or call 414-839-0066. That's 414-839-0066 or find them on Facebook and Instagram. We're all familiar with the three whats. What is it? What can it do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us most. What should you do next? Call Matthew Holbrook, your Country Financial representative at 414-332-2137 and chat about your insurance needs today. 414-332-2137.
How are you keeping your kids occupied this summer? River West Outdoor Educational Adventures offers activities featuring bike rides, canoeing, rock climbing, hiking, and more for kids in the greater Milwaukee area. They also offer these activities for adults, families, and groups.
This sounds awesome. How can we sign up?
To sign up or request more info, call River West Outdoor Educational Adventures at 414-263-4877. 414-263-4877.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Scattered rain showers likely this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies expected. High temperatures reach up to 70. Easterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Chance for scattered rain showers tonight. Lows dip down to about 55. Overcast skies. Chance for scattered rain showers tomorrow. Highs around 68. Cloudy skies expected. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Derek Height. Currently, it's 68 degrees.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but in a good way.
That's all you had to say.
This is The Shaw, 540 AM and 101.1 FM. W.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jade Madnair. And we welcome you to our Fun Friday, May 12th.
Zipping along, boys.
Zipping along. You said we have a text?
844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Anytime you want to call and or text. And we were talking about what's going on at our southern border and immigration. Texter from the 414 says, since our politicians don't seem to want to do anything about immigration, maybe we need to look to our faith community to take a lead on this human life issue. Just a thought. And that's a good point. And I think a lot of faith communities have already done that and are trying to do that.
I think that there are a lot of faith organizations that are doing stuff. I know that. So in the story that we read that was from Axios, it was where the family was staying was called Opportunity Center for Homeless. And it's like many other operations at the border are overseen by nonprofits and religious groups to temporarily house new migrants.
And that's wonderful. And I applaud those agencies for that, but that's not enough. Congress has to do something about this.
And will they?
Well, again, we've talked to enough people who have said, even though you might just end up leaving them a message, call your lawmakers.
Yeah.
Bug them. Politely.
Politely. All right. Well, let's end the hour on a high note, and let's do our weekly headline quiz.
All right.
And see how Jane does. Okay. Number 1. Tucker Carlson announced he's debuting a new version of his show on which social media platform?
Twitter.
Don't even have to give the options. All right.
Sure.
Number 2. Which contraband American snack has become so popular in Israel that officials have confiscated 661 pounds of it in a single week? Do you need to read the options?
No, I know what it is. It's fruit roll-ups. God, I love this story. I'm going to become a fruit roll-up smuggler.
Have you tried the fruit roll-up with the ice cream?
No, this is the
We might
trend?
have to do this on air.
This is why
I have not.
This is why they're so in love
This
with
is
fruit
why they're so
roll-ups?
in love with this. This has been a TikTok trend. We'll get back to it. Let's finish the quiz and then we'll get back to
All
it. Number 3, which news outlet did Americans deem the most trustworthy in a new YouGov poll? Do you know this one without the
No, give me the options.
A, InfoWars, B, The Weather Channel, C, Wall Street Journal, D, BBC?
It's the Weather Channel.
It is The Weather Channel.
Yeah.
Number 4, Warren Buffett called one company in his stock portfolio a, quote, better business than any we own. Which company was he talking about? Sorry. A, Microsoft.
Okay.
B, OnlyFans. D, C, Dairy Queen. D, Apple. Now I need to know if Warren Buffett owns stock in OnlyFans. Or if OnlyFans is even a public company.
I have no idea. Give me my options one more time.
Microsoft, OnlyFans, Dairy Queen, Apple.
I'll go with Microsoft. I have no idea.
I actually have no idea either. And number 5, what is the name of the petite Basset Griffon Vendine, who was the first in his breed to win the Westminster Dog Show this week? Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, Roy Orbison.
Chuck Berry. Completely out of the blue. I have no idea.
I'm surprised you didn't watch that. I feel like that would be right up your alley.
Dip in every once in a while.
All right.
I do.
Okay.
All right, how'd I do?
Submit 3 out of 5.
Oh, what?
Tucker Carlson said his new show is coming on to Twitter. Israeli officials confiscated 661 pounds of fruit roll-ups.
Oh, that's such a
The Weather Channel was deemed the most trustworthy news outlet.
I blew the last 2.
Buffett was talking about Apple.
Oh, okay.
Although I do want to know if he owns only parts of OnlyFans.
We'll investigate.
The winning PBGV is named Buddy Holly.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So, but anyways, going back to the
fruit roll-up.
The fruit roll-up. So Israel keeps catching Americans trying to smuggle in the hot new contraband, fruit roll-ups. Officials say they intercepted 661 pounds of them in a single week after travelers tried to sneak in commercial-sized quantities. What's got people treating the lunchbox staple like exotic animal pets? A TikTok trend that suggests wrapping the snacks around ice cream.
That sounds stupid.
Just saying. So there's the original video is linked here. I'll send it to you and I'll put it in today's show notes.
But it doesn't melt.
I don't know. The original video has over 14 million views. Fruit roll-ups have become so popular in Israel that people are willing to pay $6 each for a fruit roll-up. Remember when Hassan Minaj gave Giannis a fruit roll-up and he forgot to take the wrapper off? He's like, no, man, you got to take the wrapper off. You just bite into it.
Well, you can't go smuggling fruit roll-ups in commercial size. You got to get a raincoat and you go, psst, buddy, I have strawberry.
But I'm so interested. I was like, I don't understand. Why are they confiscating them? Why are fruit roll-ups illegal in Israel?
Another thing to investigate.
Like, it's not a plant or something that's going to like infest anything. That's like, oh, like this is like a foreign bug that's going to bring a plague and kill all our people.
There's obviously some reason for it, unless they're just anti-fruit roll-up.
Which could be.
It's
kind of like Skittles. Like, is this food? I don't know.
It's like cheese food.
If you've tried this, if you've tried ice cream and a fruit roll-up, we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And hear how it is. 844-967-2789. Otherwise, either way, actually, I should say. 1, we would love to hear if you've tried it. 2, maybe I have to go get some of this and we have to do this on air do a taste test on air.
I think we'll have to do a trial run.
Is it because it's supposed to be really warm next week, right? I think it's supposed to be like summer type weather. So I feel like, next week might be
the time to try it.
Might be the time for an ice cream snack with a little sugary fruit roll up.
We'll do some kitchen experiments on As Goes Wisconsin.
All right. Well, when we come back, I am so excited. A dear old friend of mine, Becca Grant, who is a journalist and author who's been covering reproductive rights in in the U.S. for almost 10 years, has a new book out called Birth: 3 Mothers, 9 Months, and Pregnancy in America. And also, she worked on an episode of This American Life this last year. And she just found out this week that they won a Peabody for that episode. So she will be here when we come back. I'm so excited to talk to her. And then at 12:30, we're going to talk to CJ Safer, because Institute for Reforming Government just published their huge report of 25 cities, 4,200 miles. Like they put the work in to try to answer the question of what does Wisconsin want? So he will be here at 12:30. Very fun hour on this Friday. Stick around. This is As Goes Wisconsin.